from Mesa.
Nice. Which year did you graduate Mesa?
2009.
Excellent.
And
what
then,
brought you here from New York? I'm always interested in how people land here. I mean, we just all over.
I actually went to, was trying to be into journalism, and I was supposed to go to U of A, and U of A's program sucked. And one of my huge mentors, that is actually a counselor at Mesa, he's the one that really pushed me. His name's Hubert Ross. So, yeah, he pushed me and raised my GPA up from a 2.5 to a 3.79, got into the Cronkite, graduated that in 2011. So now doing my own thing.
Yeah, see, I always tell people, you should always remember that.
Yes, definitely. So.
All right, if you could spell your first and last name.
Okay. Louanna, Louanna, and Faine, Faine.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about your transition from high school to college. So when you were in high school, were you thinking about college? Was that even in the picture?
I was in foster care, so I was in over 20 homes growing up, and I didn't even stay in one school long enough to actually think about really college. The last school was in Rochester, New York, and it was East High, and I was only there for 2 years. And no, college was not something that I thought about. Did I try to get into college? I mean, I failed my SATs. I did horrible. I didn't have the same opportunities as a lot of students as far as enriching your education, really knowing a lot about, reading, writing, spelling, because when you grow up in foster care, they put you in special ed every single time, and you may not even have those issues, but they put you there, and so they just kind of pass you along. So that was my experience, but I always knew, since I was a little girl, I used to always say I was going to be the next Oprah, and I didn't know how I was going to do it because it's not like I had financial support. Where I grew up in foster care in New York, they don't help you. You're out at 18, so it's not like, hey, we're going to help you get into school, we're going to give you those resources. I didn't have those resources. So honestly, it was the grace of God that college even was in the plan for me.
What made you decide to go to college?
I did not want to be like my biological mother. She died when I was young, and she was on drugs. And like my life was like, I'm not going to be her. And I didn't want to be a statistic. And despite of all the trials and tribulations I've gone through, I knew that there was more. Like, there's a determination in me that I don't even know where it comes from. But I didn't want to be like everybody else. And I also wanted to be that one, to be the example, like, you don't have to let your past your past doesn't have to be you.
What were some of the things at MCC that helped you the most?
MCC was a turning stone for me in so many areas. I had gotten an associate's back in New York at Erie Community College. I was mean, I was bitter, I was like, don't talk to me, had a very low GPA, had a 2.5, really went through a lot of emotional things, through suicidal and different things on that end. And I met somebody, Hubert Ross, definitely call him one of my biggest supporters. And I remember walking into his office trying to help this other girl get into college. And I walked into his office, and he was like, well, I was at ASU because I just came here, and ASU was not doing me any favors at that time because my skill level wasn't up to really being at ASU at that time. And he said, you should come here to Mesa. Something I was doing really bad. I was like failing the classes, and something told me to call him. And I called him, and I came into his office, and he helped me so much. Like, he let me see that there was more in me. He helped me with I raised my grade from my GPA from a 2.5 to a 3.79. I got involved with student government. I was actually did the educational platform of excellence, was really still pretty well known on the Mesa Community College campus. I moved the football team. A lot of people talk bad about the football team, and I got them to volunteer. I spoke, about how important education was. He really pushed me, like, he made me do these things, and it opened me up to who I am today. I can honestly say, if he was not a big influence in my life, I probably wouldn't have graduated from Mesa. I graduated with 3 degrees, being a special chair in student government, putting huge events on. Was told I was not going to get into the Walter Cronkite program, but because of what I did at Mesa, I got accepted in. So without him, I can't say that I would be standing here. Like he always says, yeah, I was your angel. And I'm like, yeah.
When you think back, the situation you were in, what could have been put into place to help you move forward? You said, 18, you're out of the system, there was no help, no nothing. So if you were queen of the world and you could go back and rewrite how those agencies work with young people, what would you do?
I had nobody. I didn't have anybody, and still even now I can say one of the things that I still lack is female mentorship. No women really sit there and take me under their wing and mentor me. I have a bunch of men that will mentor me, and it's not like they're trying to, do anything, but there's nobody out there to really help you and that know where you're coming from and that has that compassion. Like if they had people that would actually step up. I went through the Big Sister, program. I had 7 big sisters and they all left. Because my story was too much. And every counselor I went to, it was too much because it's like, it was a lot of people you deal with surface. Okay, so they may have been abused or they may have been this, but they don't have every single thing. Well, I had every single thing, so people couldn't deal with it because they'd rather push me under the rug. And I think that if I would have had that, I would have been able to go to school earlier. I would have been able to get my degree earlier. And that's one of the things that I regret, because I'm like, I see a lot of individuals that's been through foster care that I even try to mentor right now, and I'm like, don't let your past stop you from going to school, because what it does is you get older and you got all this bitterness, and it's harder to get back into the swing of things. So I think that they need to have more support for individuals that go through like the things that I've gone through.
So politicians talk a lot about education. Education's important, and they know the spiel.
Yes.
What kind of reality check do you think they need?
Education is important, but if you don't have the support to back up the education, okay, how are they getting educated? We keep talking about education is important, but where's the finances for somebody like me? Like, I got the 9 Napoleon scholarship, and I was blessed to get that, but I got it because I had to write about my story. How many people really want to sit there and indulge what they've been through to some complete strangers? I don't think that we have, number one, for people like me, there's not a finance to go to school. There's not the support. I had professors tell me straight out, you don't even belong here. Why are you here? So we don't even have the right teachers. It's not my fault that I did not get the same, the same experience as a lot of these students, that I have grammar trouble or that I had trouble writing. But then these teachers are coming at and they make you feel so belittled. So a lot of the politicians, I think, they don't really understand because they don't know what it's like over here. They don't understand what it's like to sit here and go through school, and you got teachers telling them, you're never gonna make it. I don't even know why you're here. I mean, I had a professor at Mesa that put me in tears because I didn't actually know the difference in writing 1 million to 1 billion. Now, for somebody like me, like, I was crying because I didn't know how to write the difference, but the teacher didn't take the time out to be like, okay, you know what, like, I understand where your background is. And that's not happening in these schools. And I think that we need to employ people that actually have the heart, number one, and we need to give resources for when there is somebody like me that comes in so we can succeed. Because what's the point of paying all this money to go to school and we just drop out because we feel dumb or we feel stupid and we feel like we actually can't do anything?
So you've talked about the people that have helped you get there and stay there. Talk a little bit about the persistence, because there's lots of people that try, don't necessarily graduate. I mean, there's huge numbers going. There's not a lot of numbers leaving successfully. So what's the difference that you see yourself and people that you've been educated with, the ones that actually graduate? What's the helping part there?
I can tell you with me, it was God, because I was ready to leave. And that's just me personally. I have a spiritual relationship. I was ready to quit several times. I felt like I couldn't do it. I felt like I wasn't smart enough. I had to, even when I started getting into bigger classes, I had to kind of humble myself and get help from the disability services because I didn't understand some of this stuff. And that's a lot because you're dealing with all these kids that actually had it so well, and you kind of feel dumb. So I think that's the big thing. It's like, you don't want to feel stupid. A lot of them don't want to feel dumb, so they leave because you can't, write a certain way. I think resources are extremely, extremely important, and knowing that the resources is, and knowing that if there is resources as far as, writing or reading and stuff like that, not to make the individuals feel like they're lesser than. And I think that's the big thing, is that a lot of us, when we do go there, we feel lesser than.
What would have been maybe top 2 or 3 things that would have been helpful to you, and you think people that are in your situation? And think about it all the way from high school through college. What would have been just 2, 3 things that could have been put into place that would have made such a big difference?
Support. I needed support, and I didn't get the support. At that time, I was with and when I was in high school, I was with a really bad foster parent, and I had no one to go to, and I had no one to turn to. So number 1 would be the support. Number 2 is different resources, being able to have the resources, and knowing that people are just there. Like, I don't think, like, when you're in a normal household and you have your mom and dad, it's you take it for granted because you don't understand what it's like to come home and actually not have that, and not have that support, and not be able to be involved in things. I think that I can tell you with my education, when I did extracurricular activities, it helped. Well, if you're in foster care, you typically aren't doing that stuff. And I think we need to have resources to provide that for kids. And even with college, the biggest thing is support, is finding people that are really able to take that and support individuals like me and you, and kind of take away from it being about themselves, because some of these professors are so busy with their own life that they don't even realize that they could touch and change somebody's life. Like I say, I give a lot of credit to Hubert Ross, because he literally changed my life. And he could have said that, well, you know what, I'm just going to be a counselor. This is all I'm going to do. I'm not going to really, go above and beyond. But then I wouldn't be where I'm at if it wasn't for him.
Excellent. Excellent.
Thank you.
That was perfect.